You've clicked on another English Exposed video where I expose the truth about English. Ooh, that made me dizzy. Native speakers can get things like grammar and spelling wrong. This first mistake comes from a teacher. I think teachers should set good examples. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. I've made my fair share. Oh, that's a good expression. I've made my fair share of something. Oh, that could be mistakes, problems, or anything you feel you've had a lot of or a large number of. Okay, let's get back on track, which means I went off topic and now I want to get back to what I was originally talking about. And that was about making mistakes as a teacher. And here's an example of that. What mistakes do you see in this note? And yes, there are several. What mistakes did you find? Let's first talk about spelling. A lunch. That's not what this teacher meant. And if you said that it should be at lunch, you're right. That's the first mistake. Now let's talk about punctuation. What punctuation marks are missing? Remember that if you start a sentence with if, you need a comma somewhere, but where? If the shade is down, I am unavailable. If the shade is down, I am unavailable. You can almost hear where that comma goes. And if you said that the comma should go after the word down, you're correct. If the shade is down, comma, I am unavailable. But is that all? Oh, I think I heard some of you saying no. And if you are saying that, you're right. That's not all. Here it's missing a period at the end. Now, that's a good sentence. In the next sentence, this teacher uses a plus sign for the word and, which is fine. This is a note, and it's okay to use shortcuts. But do not do this when you're writing a paper or writing something formal. The third issue I have with this note is the use of capital letters. I've warned my students about using capital letters. When writing a note or a message and you use all caps or capital letters, it means that you are yelling. So, the leave me alone in all caps is fine, but we don't need to use a capital letter in the word school or in the word at. Before school and at lunch, leave me alone. And she used a period here, but if she really wanted to stress that, she could have used an exclamation point. And there should probably be a comma after the word lunch. You see, when you start a sentence with the word before, you should use a comma somewhere. So remember, before you plus action or that verb, comma, and then the rest of the sentence. As in, before you eat, comma, wash your hands, period. But in this sentence, the teacher uses before school and at lunch. These are times. So it's before school time and before lunch time. We would still need a comma. Before school and at lunch, comma. So you're not talking about an action. You're talking about a period of time. Before this time, comma, and then the rest of the sentence. So remember, you can use before this time or before plus an action. She ends this with the word respectfully, which should have what after it? A comma, right. She doesn't need a hyphen or that dash before her name. I'm not sure why it's there. And I'm not sure why she used a smiley face after the word unavailable, because to me it seems like she's saying, "Ha ha, I'm unavailable." And the smiley face after the word respectfully seems that way too. If she had written thanks and then a smiley face, I think that would seem nicer to me. What do you think? I also think that it would be more respectful of her to state when she is available. So with all the corrections, it should look something like this. If the shade is down, comma, I am unavailable, period. Before school and at lunch, comma, leave me alone, exclamation point. Respectfully, comma, Ms. B. Or I would say, thanks, exclamation point, Ms. B, smiley face. Here's the second one. This was posted on Facebook, and I assume this was written by a native speaker from the US. Let's take a moment to see if you can find the errors. Now, a lot of native speakers say me and my. My grandmother once said that I needed to think of others first. So, my and I. My wife and I, my husband and I. And she was right. It's grammatically correct to say my husband and I. But yes, you will hear me and my husband, or me and my, fill in the blank. Speaking of grammar, let's look at this sentence. Suddenly I hear that I got a text on my phone that I left in the kitchen. There is a problem with tense. There are some native speakers that struggle with this when speaking because we don't think about proper tenses. How would you correct this sentence so that the tense is correct? Since this happened and the actions are finished, we should use past tense. Suddenly I heard that I got a text on my phone that I left in the kitchen. If the sentence were to stay in present tense with a past action, we'd have to change it a little. Suddenly, I hear my phone notifying me that I was getting a message. But let's keep it in past tense. And if we keep this message in past tense, you need to make a few more changes. Pause here to do that now. Okay, now we have. So, my husband and I were sitting on the couch watching TV yesterday. Suddenly, I heard that I got a text on my phone that I left in the kitchen. Past tense of go is went. I went to the kitchen to check it. And it, past tense of is, was. And it was a text from my husband. And this last sentence doesn't change because the person is telling you what the text said. Before we say that this is correct, we should talk a little bit about punctuation. When you use the word so, you should use a comma after it. A lot of written material and a lot of people write it without a comma. It's one of those things where you should have a comma, but a lot of people leave it out. The other punctuation mark that's missing is the period at the end. Please bring the chips on your way back, period. The writer also uses a colon, which that should be a comma and not a colon, because we use colons for making lists. And this is what the text said. So it should say, comma, quotation marks, please bring the chips on your way back, period, quotation marks. And that's how I would correct this. This last photo is a misunderstanding. We've all had them. So, what's wrong with this one? This is a smoke detector. The word ceiling is spelled correctly, installed on. It doesn't mean where, it means when. So, this shouldn't have the word ceiling, it should have the date that it was installed.